After a remarkable 14-year hiatus, the sequel to the beloved Pixar film The Incredibles finally graced the silver screen in 2018 with Incredibles 2. With its immense success and the intriguing narrative possibilities it left behind, the question on everyone's mind is whether the adventures of the Parr family will continue. In this video, we'll explore the latest updates and insights into the potential release of Incredibles 3, what the creators and studios have shared, and the kind of story and timeline fans can expect. Get ready to dive into the world of superheroes and discover what the future holds for this remarkable franchise. Pixar takes its sweet time making animated movies, and they're pretty picky about which projects make the cut. So, if we're talking about Incredibles 3, it's got some big shoes to fill, and that might mean a longer wait for us Pixar fans. In a chat about money back in February 2023, Disney's top dog, Bob Iger, spilled the beans on plans to make more sequels and continue beloved movie franchises. They even mentioned Frozen 3, Zootopia 2, and Toy Story 5 being in the works. Now, they didn't say anything about Incredibles 3, but Hollywood, and Disney in particular, loves a good franchise. With Incredibles 2 raking in $1.2 billion, the odds are good that they might go for round 3 eventually. Pixar is shaking things up once more, and it all started after the successes of Incredibles 2 and Toy Story 4, both crossing the billion-dollar mark at the box office. But then, things got a bit rocky for Pixar as they tried to focus more on original stories. The pandemic forced theaters to close, and Disney got us all used to watching animated flicks on Disney+. As a result, Pixar's financial journey hit a few bumps. Here's the kicker. Their last 6 movies didn't quite stack up to Incredibles 2 in terms of moolah, so the return of the Parr family could be just the boost they need. And hey, it's no shocker that they've also thrown in an Inside Out 2 to keep us entertained while we wait. The burning question on everyone's mind is whether Incredibles 3 will ever see the light of day. Well, it's a bit of a head-scratcher. Incredibles 2 was a hit, making it one of Pixar's top-grossing films, but there's no guarantee that a third installment is in the works. You see, Incredibles 2 was part of a wave of sequels to Pixar's earlier classics like Finding Dory, Monsters University, and Toy Story 4. It seems like Disney was pushing for these sequels. Even though it seemed like Pixar was wrapping up this sequel spree, Disney, which owns Pixar, is once again gearing up for more sequels in the pipeline.
In the prosaic day today.
Director Brad Bird has been pretty chill about the whole Incredibles 3 thing. After Incredibles 2 hit the screens, he left the door wide open for more adventures in this world. He even hinted at some cool characters and ideas that didn't quite make it into Incredibles 2, but could show up in the future, whether in another Incredibles flick or something else. While it's not official that Brad Bird will return for Incredibles 3, he seems like he's up for it. As for Pixar, they've been tight-lipped about Incredibles 3. It's interesting to note that the franchise hasn't expanded on Disney+, unlike other Pixar hits like Monsters, Inc., Up, and Toy Story, which have seen spin-offs. In fact, the fact that there hasn't been a Disney Plus spin-off might be a good sign for Incredibles 3. They could be cooking up something behind the scenes, and we'll just have to keep our eyes peeled for any updates. Now, let's turn our attention to how The Incredibles 2 sets up The Incredibles 3 story. Incredibles 2 wraps up with a much clearer resolution compared to its predecessor, but it still leaves the door wide open for future adventures. The first movie hinted at a sequel, while Incredibles 2 shifts the focus to a different storyline, the effort to make superheroes legal again. This is the central theme of Incredibles 2, and by the end of the film, the world finally recognizes the value of supers, and they become legitimized. While this change might seem to remove a key element that added depth to the first movie, the superheroes being illegal, it also creates a new starting point for potential sequels. With supers now legal and accepted by society, the stage is set for a fresh and open status quo, leaving plenty of room for new adventures in the Incredibles universe. At the end of Incredibles 2, the Parr family reunites and resumes their crime-fighting antics as the Incredibles, but now in the open. While it may not be an obvious setup, this fresh start offers a blank canvas for the franchise, allowing for a different approach in Incredibles 3 with characters who are less restricted. The sequel also drops a hint in its after-credit scene, suggesting that the villain Underminer is still out there causing trouble.
What is he doing?
Oh, it's Mozart, Robert. Can you blame him? The important thing is that the student tracker anticipated the change and alerted.
This tease is reminiscent of the first movie's ending, which led to a showdown with the Underminer at the beginning of the second film. However, in Incredibles 2, this villain didn't play a substantial role beyond the opening sequence. This tease from Incredibles 2 about the Underminer could be a subtle indication of where Incredibles 3's story might head, hinting at the possibility of this villain taking on a more significant role in the next installment. Now, let's focus on the most important thing: what we want. Well, according to many fans, to really spice things up for Incredibles 3, a time jump is just what the Doctor ordered. While diving straight into the Parr family's superhero adventures made Incredibles 2 a breeze to start, it also put a bit of a cap on what the story could explore. Having Dash and Violet as adolescents is an easy starting point, but it does limit how their character arcs can evolve. Advancing the timeline by a few years would provide a fresh and natural backdrop for character development. This way, the story can pick up from there, with one of the kids potentially leaving home and embarking on their own journey. It's a logical step for a series centered around family dynamics, and it would open up new and exciting narrative possibilities. On the flip side, what makes The Incredibles are the superheroes. Brad Bird made a conscious decision to avoid much of what's happened in the cinematic genre since the first movie, instead having the sequel hinge on the world he set up in 2004. While that avoids Incredibles 2 feeling like it's riding trends, it also means that one of the original's core qualities, that it was essentially a genre deconstruction a la Watchmen, is lost. By the time Incredibles 3 rolls around, the genre will be over 2 decades old. The variance in tone and shared universes will be too ingrained not to explore. As for the release of Incredibles 3 may follow a timeline similar to its predecessor, Incredibles 2. Incredibles 2 was officially confirmed in March 2014, with Brad Bird starting work on the script shortly after and stepping up to direct in 2015. The production took about 4 years, which is the average for animated films, and it was originally planned for 5 years. Pixar currently has several release dates for untitled animated movies on Disney's schedule: June 13, 2025, March 6, 2026, and June 19, 2026. If Incredibles 3 were to be released on any of these dates, it should have been announced in 2020 or 2021, based on Incredible 2's timeline. However, looking at how Inside Out 2 was announced just 2 years ahead of its release, it's possible that Incredibles 3 might receive an official announcement in 2024, if it aims for the June 2026 date. This would be nearly 8 years after the release of Incredibles 2. Well, that's it for today. Make sure that you like and subscribe to our channel for more amazing videos. Let us know your thoughts in the comment section. Thanks for watching the video, and we'll see you at the next one.